feel good, baby. I feel good. Uh, first and foremost, I work long and hard to prepare myself for these episodes. I always rewatch the fights at least a second time and sometimes a third or a fourth to give you a good representation of what I saw going down in the fights themselves, and also to give you good takes, good picks, as best I can. Uh, we hit the nail on the head this weekend as well with the fight picks from the future. I really would appreciate the thumbs up, the subscribe button. You know me, I'm here for you. I'm here for you to talk boxing. I just sit down in front of this thing and let my crazy brain just do its thing. Let's first off, what's the first fight we touch on? It's not going to be the main event, right? You know the setup to this. We're going to talk about the fights that took place. Let's start with Austin Ammo Williams versus Kyron Conway. This fight surprised me a lot because Austin Ammo Williams comes away with the victory. That is the pick that we made in the preview episode last week. However, I thought that it would be a dominant performance. I thought that we would see a knockout for sure. I didn't know if it would be early. It could have been later. But I thought that overall it would be dominant. I thought for sure there'd be a knockout. That's kind of the way and the progression that Austin Ammo Williams has come to make us feel should be expected of him. Certainly before a true kind of step-up fight. As the lighting is just going fucking crazy in here. I love it. Only on this show. But listen, this fight was actually very good. It had a lot going on in there. Basically, Austin Ammo Williams, he comes out strong. He's quick. He's young. He's very talented. He's athletic. He's all these things. So he comes out, you know, guns blazing, and his quickness, his hand speed, his youth, his all these things really played a factor in the first few rounds, and he took those rounds. The third round I thought was when things were getting interesting, and then the fourth, the fifth, I was giving those rounds to Conway. Now listen, when the fight was going into the seventh round, I had it 3-3. And then after that, I think, is when you can differ about how you scored it. But I'm going to tell you that it's a 10-round fight, not a 12, right? And going into the ninth round, right, after 8 rounds, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that you still could have had it tied. Still could have had it tied 4-4. If you had to put a gun to my head, I might have said that maybe Ammo Williams was up. But if you wanted to give it 4-4 even going into that ninth round, I really wouldn't. I wouldn't come after you with the pitchforks and the torches. It was a very competitive fight, and what was happening to me, to my eyes, is that Ammo Williams was not setting up his punches. So Kyron Conway not only shouldn't have put up this much opposition by the look of his resume, because he hasn't fought, so many people, but also he only has 4 KOs. He is not going to hit you like Ammo Williams will, but Ammo Williams needs to throw a jab out there sometimes. You have to set up your punches. You can't just go in there and start winging overhands, and that be your first punch. Throw the fucking jab out there first, and then let those punches go. The hooks, the over. Throw a couple jabs. Throw a jab straight for God's sakes, and then let those punches come in after. But he wasn't doing that. He wasn't setting up his punches so well. And I thought that after the first couple of rounds that he gave away, it really started to deter him. Instead of him focusing. I don't know what the corner was saying to him, but I would imagine that simply you'd tell him, right? If I could see it, I grant that a professional trainer and a coach would be able to see this. I just kind of like assume that. So I'm sure they told him, set your punches up, set up the power punches. Don't start with power punches because he's avoiding those looping overhands. And what would happen is he's not very powerful, but he just piece him up while he's coming in. And when he makes him, Ammo Williams miss, Conway would just piece him up a little, just touching him. But it was enough to win rounds. And I felt like I saw Ammo Williams getting a little bit frustrated in there. And instead of adapting and changing the game plan, it was just constantly more and more, okay, more tries at the overhand, but yeah, a very close fight, and nonetheless, he drops Conor Conway in that ninth round, and that's a 10-8 round, and that's right before the last round, so it really sealed the deal in this fight. I liked this fight a lot. It surprised me. There was a few surprises on this card and good things to take away. While there's things with that I will touch on, as well as I've seen most people touch on, which is very fair, about the main event, about certain fights being kind of uncompetitive even besides that. We're going to get to that stuff too, but let's be a glass half full kind of person, shall we? So this fight, it exceeded my expectations because it actually became a good close fight until the last, until that ninth round. And then you figured, I also gave Ammo Williams that 10th round, the last round. But you figured, maybe if because it was close, it's the 10-8, but judging's a little screw. Like, if Conway would have come out and won that 10th round, things could have been really interesting. I don't, necessarily agree with a lot of the scorecards in these kind of fights, especially if it's backed by an unofficial Chris Mannix scorecard. Then we're really skeptical about it. But yeah, I thought it was a good fight and a close fight that Ammo Williams deserved, and really the ceiling of the deal was the knockdown in round 9, because without that, you would have had something a lot close. You could have seen even a different decision there. Honestly, I felt like. And then we had Gabriel Rosado versus Akhmedov. So listen, this Ali Akhmedov, we picked him to win. We got these picks right, but I'm just going to be honest. I mean, there were certain things that surprised. This was another one. I thought that this fight, Gabriel Rosado, the way he's been looking, you look at his resume, I'm the biggest Gabriel Rosado fan that you will meet. I put him on the Unknown to Casuals episode and I really kind of tried to drive it home about him, spent even some extra time on it, because he's an important guy to boxing. And an important guy to fans that want to see, people in there facing real challenges every time. And not just, cab drivers and stuff. I think he's an important character in boxing and has had a career that if you shit on it, just the record alone, knowing that he's always almost been an underdog and fights a high level of competition that, he kind of has seemingly no business to be doing. You can't shit on that because of his record and then also say, I'll shit on this guy because he's fighting nobody. You then you're self-contradicting. So anyways, I thought that Gabriel Rosado would present a true test, even though we love him. We gave you the honest pick and thought that he would lose this fight. I truly did think that, like every other Gabriel Rosado fight, that he would give him some hell in there. Even that Jaime Munguia fight, man, he really poured himself. I feel like that's the fight you'll look back on in Gabe Rosado's career and really be like, that's the one that took a lot out of him. Because he went all the way with this monster that knocks everyone. And he was winning rounds in there. And he just trained like a fucking madman for that. And he really, he's been kind of robbed before, like the Daniel Jacobs fight a little bit. And he just, you really got the feeling that this was all that he had to give. Being a little bit older too, having a long career already, you just felt like that was what he had to. That's part of why we picked him to lose. But I did still think, man, that he'd be winning some rounds in there and make this thing interesting. And that wasn't the case. I don't know. I mean, this was sad because I don't know that he won a single round, in this fight. So unfortunately, that's kind of all that has to be said about that. Just being honest, it was an uncompetitive fight, and that really kind of disappointed me. But it is what it is, man, and we don't blame anybody. And I love that guy, man. I rock with him. You retire, you do whatever you want to do. You keep fighting, you lose more. I rock with you, man. But that's just kind of how that went. And then we had another surprise, but this was a pleasant surprise in the Bam, Rodriguez versus Gonzalez fight. Gonzalez surprised me. Bam Rodriguez walks away with the win. So again, we get that pick right, but not at all how I saw the fight going. That kid is a special talent. So while I think that, for instance, like many other, for instance, it's a perfect example. While I look at, especially even before this fight, Austin Amma Williams and say, wow, that guy's impressive. I'm sure he'll go on to do good things, and he's somebody that you want to watch, and he will be a competitor, in some really good fights, win or lose. Bam Rodriguez is one of those guys that's very special, and I still think that. He's very special talent, but everybody picks one thing or the other. Instead of shitting on Bam Rodriguez, like, you should have knocked this guy out. I mean, you just came off beating Carlos Quadros and then stopping Cerise Castro Rungvisai, who had knocked out Chocolate. I mean, you're just coming out of nowhere, like fighting these killers and stopping them and looking so impressive while you do it. Cutting beautiful Lomachenko-esque kind of angles in there. Just being a phenomenon looking like that. And this fight, I thought, wow, it's not that I don't respect Gonzalez, but we just watched this guy beat Carlos Quadros, that kind of shocked the world. And then not just beating, but looking so impressive and stopping Rungvisai. I really thought, and that simply off of those names, man, that Gonzalez was a step down in competition, and that they should just be uncompetitive. It was highly competitive. Gonzalez comes out, starts strong. Gonzalez, though he landed shots to the head, Bam is very good, upper torso movement. It's hard to place shots on his head, so Gonzalez had some success with that, but also in the beginning, going to the body, because you can't move your body around the way that you can with your head. And then when he'd be effective to the body, bringing it back upstairs, doing the right things. The distance that Gonzalez kept throughout the entire fight. And it didn't matter if he was winning, it's rounds he won or rounds he lost. I thought his distance management was fucking as perfect as it could be, to come in as a huge underdog and make this fight truly competitive. Basically, he was running away with the first half of this fight. It's not that Bam Rodriguez didn't win a round or two out of the first, 5, 6, but that's half the fight, right? And as far as outside of just winning a few rounds and still, losing halfway through this fight on the scorecards to me, to Gonzalez, it definitely took until round 6, round 7 for Bam to start figuring some things out and truly being effective and truly actually not just winning around here on points, but truly like changing the momentum and the feel of the fight, and finding things that he could go back to that worked for him. That was like halfway through the fight, man. and on my scorecard at that point he was losing. And then he's winning. Then he's picking up rounds. Then we have more interest in like the nut shot. I mean, he's just the low blows. I will say this: I loved the way that Kenny Bayless got in there and took a point because he warned him about the low blows. I think the kid, as talented as he is, it's not on purpose. I mean, to me, it's obvious. I just think that's not on purpose. It's a mistake. He is excited. He's especially when he starts finding some things of where he's trying to go to the body. He's got a guy that's moving around a lot himself, moving his head around, stepping in and out, keeping the distance. I think it's an accident, but there were a lot of low blows. And when Kenny Bayless took a point for that, I thought, that's fucking great refereeing. And also, that's making this fight close, and I agreed with it. I agreed with that. Again, even in the later rounds when Bam was taking over, getting that point deducted, that's making the fight close again. Then, this is it's not debatable. It's a low blow. There wasn't a part of the glove at all. There wasn't a fraction of the glove that landed on the flesh, on the torso, on the skin of Gonzalez in that knockdown. It was all trunk. So did he hit him in the nuts? No. Is it a low blow? Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely, it's a low blow. They called that one a knockdown. That was strange because then, though, Kenny Bayless kind of ruining what he did before by not only not calling it a low blow, but saying it's an official hit, so it's a knockdown. The commentary team touched on it. Why is there no count going on then, right? There's a 10 count that needs to happen. So instead he's arguing, goes, what the fuck, But meanwhile, mind you, Gonzalez, I already told you, I'm so impressed by that guy. So impressed by what he was able to do in that fight, especially in the first half of the fight. And then even in the second half when he's losing round after round after round, and he is getting beat up a little bit, the determined, the heart, the will. But, I mean, I don't think he knew where he was. He got low blowed and then he goes, oh, the back of the head. Or, that's... I mean, you don't know what's going on at that point. You got low blowed. Why are you doing this to Kenny Bayless? He hit me in the back of the head. That's not what happened. It was a little bit weird. It got weird. It got weird there. Then they called, like I said, he's arguing, saying, that's an illegal shot. Maybe that's just what he's tapping the back of his head to Kenny Bayless. Like, oh, it's illegal. Kenny Bayless says, no, it's an official shot, which was wrong. It was a low blow. But he says, oh, it's an official shot. But then, where's the count? You're just like talking to this guy, arguing while you're letting him, kneel on the floor. It wasn't an official shot. If you call it that, so be it. That we can argue here that you were wrong, but it gets even weirder. There's no count going on. Anyways, he stands back. He loses more. He loses again. I thought this fight was very close. I didn't agree with the scorecard. That was an unofficial Chris Mack scorecard. So we know that that's suspect, right? We know that already. So that fight was very close. Bam walks away with the win, even with the point deduction. So much close. I thought it'd be more uncompetitive. I thought we'd see an early-ish knockout before halfway through, or at round 6 at the late. I thought really that Bam would put this guy away, given what we've seen from him before. That ended up not being the case. And those I really wanted to touch on specifically. Now listen, as far as the main event, last week we really broke this thing down a lot to you, I think. We played both sides to you of, yes, I thought Triple G won the first fight, but no, Canelo will win, regardless. I thought he won the second, but that's a close and great fight. That's a classic fight, number 2. And then this third one, everybody's, we've been waiting for this trilogy. I told you that, no, I thought it'd be uncompetitive. I thought he might even stop him. And basically, it was even kind of worse than that because it was uncompetitive. Triple G didn't win a fucking round until, round 9 or something. Then he won one other. I gave Triple G 2 rounds in this entire fight. I've heard some people give him 3. Whatever. He won a couple of those very late rounds. It was out of 12. It was an uncompetitive fight. And not even so much as where he won the rounds. Like, here's one, and then, ooh, he's starting late, earlier, and then, ooh, he got this one. Can he pull some? No, it's just he lost the first 8 rounds or so, and the fight you knew was over because he's not going to knock Canelo out. You just knew that. So it was even worse, made worse by that. My prediction was it wouldn't be competitive, but I thought Canelo might stop him, and that's a possibility. And then the way that the fight played out, like the opening and Canelo starting so strong, made me think, oh my God, that this is not going to go the distance. It just won't. Even with the fucking absolute chin of steel that Triple G has, he was getting beat up in there, dominated, truly dominated. There wasn't a competitive round in the first 8 rounds of this fight. Not one was even so much as slightly competitive. So, and then there was hard shots land. There's a whole thing about Canelo possibly with the, his left hand being injured. I don't need to buy into that and just, because, listen, you guys fucking, I love you. I'm a boxing fan. I've been telling you this. You guys fucking suck. You fucking suck. Other boxing fans, I know like a couple good people I like to talk boxing with. Most of you fucking suck because I like fighters too. I try to do unbiased because I'm doing this show, but I'm also upfront about who I really like. Like, I'm a fan of them, right? I'm a Canelo fan. I'm also a Triple G fan. I'm more of a Canelo fan. You guys just hate on everything that fucking Canelo does wrong. So if I bring up the thing, it's going to be, oh, you're making excuses of why he couldn't finish it. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't know if his left hand was injured. I don't jump to believe that. And I am very willing to look at that fight and say, you should have stopped him. When Triple G, you dominated this entire fight. And when Triple G just had an act of pure desperation in the later rounds, that he had really nothing much to offer. You played it safe. I agree with that. But you don't get credit. You don't fucking get credit for that. Because most of these fucking boxing fans, especially with this fight, man, with Triple G and Canelo, but a lot of fighters, like, you just think because you like someone that you're a fan of that person, that automatically, if you're a big fan of a fighter, that just because I like him, that means he wins every fight he ever has. Or if you don't like a fighter, I can never pick him, even if he's an obvious favorite. I just get sick of this shit. There's just no fucking arguments to be made about things. Good boxing talk is like, whether you're right or wrong, like making it interesting. Having a point to offer, and then stating facts about it, and then you can be disagreed with, and other people can listen to this and come away with their own opinion of it. And you guys just fucking suck to be. And what happens, right? This is a little rant. I talk to a couple of people, right, that do shows like me on YouTube, whatever, have shows. I talk to a couple of them and say, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, this is how I feel about it. And that's because I respect them. I respect how they feel about things. Sometimes they don't like fighters that I may like, but they offer very good opinions as to why they don't. What most of you fucking boxing fans do, I'm just a boxing fan too, but I really am different in this. Just clear as day. What most of you fucking do is you're just biased. You don't have points to prove. You don't know about boxing. You've never trained you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And what you'll do is you'll look for certain channels, and then you'll say, oh, you know what, like, this guy who may know what he's talking about, he happens to be saying something that's not flattering about a fighter that I don't like as well, that I happen not to like. And so I'll just go and open my mouth and let it spew a bunch of shit that's unimpressive to everyone, including the people that fucking actually know what they're talking about is running the channels and stuff, and then just be like, yeah, see, he knows what he's talking. Stop being so fucking biased, man. I like both these guys. You don't have to pick a side. What you should do is watch boxing matches and clearly see who you want. I thought Triple G won the first fight. That doesn't mean I can't look at that second fight and say, though it is very close, I happen to side with Canelo. If you happen to side with Triple G, I won't fight you to death about that. It's a close fight. This is an uncompetitive fight, and the people like me who know just even a little bit, if you actually watch the sport at all, and you're not a casual fan, you would have known long before this fight ever happened that true boxing heads were never clamoring for this third fight because of the timelines. It's like two ships passing in the night, going different directions. Canelo Alvarez on an upscale. Now, he's beatable. He is beatable. So, and he just had the loss to Dimitri. I don't think he should be up at that weight class. But even as his weight class, with the Benavidez's of the world, with all these things, there's fights to be made that he could lose in. But he is around at least his prime. Whether you think he's coming out of his prime or just in it or whatever, he's right around it. He is on the good side of his career for however much his skills are worth. He's right around the age, his prime, his ability, and Triple G is literally long past. I mean, you fucking same people that complain that Canelo, waited too long to take a Triple G fight. That I did think he still lost in that first fight. You just say that because you don't like him. And it is true that it's true that he waited a long time. Then we still saw him basically in a fight that Canelo should have lost in that first fight. And that was past his fucking prime. The second fight, you argued to death, it's close. I gave it to Canelo, but I think it's close. It's close, so I'm not going to fight you to death if you thought that. But you don't say it's a robbery, nothing like that, because it's a very close, good fight, that second fight. And this third fight, if you ever had a clue, and I want to be clear, I'm not a fucking complete, just an expert. I'm just a lifelong fan, trained a bit, know what I'm talking about. I watch the sport not only every weekend, I watch all these fights. I watch undercard fights. I also rewatch them, and sometimes more than a second time to do these shows. I follow boxing. I follow other people that talk about boxing. If you just don't like a guy, you don't get a place at the table when you don't have anything to offer about it. If you had a fucking brain on your head, you would have never thought that Triple G could win this fight. There's a lot of people I know that don't like Triple G. It's kind of like this. But again, if they knew, the couple of people that they love Triple G and they don't really like Canelo, right? Which ain't where, but a couple of these people, they know what they're fucking talking about. No one was clamoring for this fight. You should have known beforehand that this would be uncompetitive and it would look sad for Triple G, because you should have just simply known, one, he's older, but more importantly, like I said last weekend on the show for the preview of this, you should have looked at the Murata fight and seen that some people can be old, but hey, he looked good here. You should have seen a way lesser opponent than Canelo Alvarez in fucking Ryota Murata, who fucking won a bunch of rounds against this guy. And even though he ended up getting stopped, you should have looked at that fight and seen, fuck the age, fuck the cliche, he's too old, he's too, this and that. You should have simply seen that he's so slow. He's so slow. And he just looks so fucking different than he did back in the day. And you should have known that. Until next time, loyal fight fans, I'm glad that I could make that rant. Some of you fucking people just need to learn to come to an argument with a point to prove and some facts and stats to state, instead of just being a dickhead who's like, I'm a fan of this guy, so fuck the other guy. That is not boxing. This is a sport, and you only get a seat at the table if you actually follow it and have anything at all to offer outside of idiocy.